All right, what is happening? We've got De Bello Gallico here, book 1, chapter 2. So, in the first chapter, we had basically a written map of Gaul. Now we're going to start talking about the people. So, Aperawatios, among the Helvetii, and then our nominative is here, and we have these superlative adjectives both describing orgetorics. Orgetorics. Fuit was, and then longe is an adverb, but we don't say longly, so we will go with by far. That's probably the closest English equivalent we got. By far the most noble. And wealthiest. Is he. And then we have an ablative absolute here. And you can say with Marcus, Messala, and with Marcus Piso being consuls, there is no participle for the verb to be. So this is not an uncommon type of ablative absolute. What is actually going on here is we are getting a date stamp. So consuls are elected yearly, and then there were 2 of them, and then they couldn't be reelected for a good decade, so this is a nice little timestamp. Another way to translate this ablative absolute is when M dot is common for Marcus. So the only significance of that ablative absolute is basically giving us the year. So he, and then you have a perfect passive participle, vindictus. Having been influenced. Cupiditate, by the desire. Regni, and this is an example of an objective genitive. It's the object of a emotional word. You can say by desire, influenced by the desire of power, or of a kingdom. He blah blah blah. Fecit, made a conuriatione, made a conspiracy. Nobilitatis, of the nobility. And he persuaded Civitati, the state. And then persuadio takes the dative. And it's going to set up this subjunctive clause. And that's going to be an indirect command. All right, so he persuaded the state to leave De Finibus from suis finibus, from their own borders, cum omnibus copies, with all their copies supplies or possessions. And then you have this infinitive here, and more often than not, infinitive there too, more often than not, with Caesar, when you have persuadeo, a form of it, you have an indirect command, and then that's actually going to be followed by an indirect statement. And we have that indirect statement here. That esse perfacile. It is easy. And then we've got a cum clause. Since they surpass omnibus all in virtue or with respect to virtue. All right, that is easy. Potiri. All right, so this is deponent. And it takes the ablative. It's one of the puffy verbs. So those are the words that are deponent. They look passive translated actively. All right, it is easy to acquire. The power, the command of all Gaul. Both of these are genitive. With this, he persuaded it to them, and then we've got a comparative adverb. Because continenter, they are contained. Undeque, on all sides. Natura, by the nature. Loci, of their location. All right, in the they or the Helvetii, I kind of left them out. And then the parte you can take as part or side. From one side. Or from one part. The latissimo aqualtissimo, the very wide and very deep. Rhine River, which divides the Helvetian Field, Agermanis from the Germans. All right, and we're going to pick up with the second half of this on the next